Henri Cartier-Bresson. He is a legend. Henri Cartier-Bresson is a French photographer, filmmaker, and humanitarian. And honestly, he's had a crazy life. I actually don't have any of his photo books. I'm not sure as to why, but if you guys have any recommendations, leave a comment below of any of his books. But I actually have a biography about him where, honestly, this guy was on another level. To give you guys the short story about Henri Cartier-Bresson, he actually went to art school. He wanted to be a painter and artist, and he ended up transitioning to photography. Now, this is important because he learned so many of the basic techniques in art school and many advanced techniques as well, and that actually directly carried over into his photography. And later on, when we get to how do we apply what he did today, it's honestly a lot of it is going to be the foundations of art. So to continue on, he goes into photography and he actually gets drafted into the French army during World War II. There, he actually met Robert Capa, which I will talk about in a separate video. Funny enough, there's a book right over here of Robert Capa's photography, which is funny because I have his, but I don't have a Henri Cartier-Bresson one. Either way, they met in the French army. They were on the same media team in the French army and with many other people. They actually ended up getting captured by the Germans and imprisoned for a while. Eventually, they escaped, and of course, they actually captured the liberation of France and they captured the end of the war all on film. After the end of the war and everything, Robert Capa and Henri Cartier-Bresson, along with a few other members, actually created the Magnum Photo Group. The Magnum Photo Group is honestly just one impressive roster of just like high profile photographers, all humanitarians, all trying to capture the things that are going on in the world. It's honestly so impressive, and I still follow Magnum Photo Group today. So what can we actually learn from Henri Cartier-Bresson's photography, and how do we actually apply this stuff today? And to be honest, he has so many different things that he did, it's kind of hard for me to synthesize it to just a few small points. So I just picked my personal top 3 points, but of course, if you guys want to look more into him, I completely recommend it. Definitely look more because there's a lot of stuff to go through. So the first point that I want to make is composition. The foundations of a good photograph, the foundations of a good artwork is always going to be composition. But with a lot of his, it's actually kind of this basic composition, such as like the golden triangle, the rule of thirds, the Fibonacci sequence, and it's like kind of basic techniques, but they're not. And the reason I'm saying they're kind of basic is like because we could all easily find out about them. Now, they're hard because when you try to apply them, it's kind of more of keeping your eyes open. These are natural things that happen in nature and happen actually within the cities that we live in. We just have to keep our eyes open for it. Knowing it is only half the battle, and keeping our eyes open and applying that to a composition on a photo or artwork is actually what elevates it to another point. And this is something that's so simple, but it's so impactful, even though it's like simple. The second point I want to make kind of goes a little bit hand in hand with composition. Now, Henri Cartier-Bresson coined this term as the decisive moment. And the decisive moment is basically when you kind of wait in a single position, you have the composition in your head of what you want to take a photograph of, and you're waiting for the right subject to come by. Now, of course, this is like all we do in street photography, and it's kind of easy to apply this one today, but that's because we have digital cameras. You got to remember, during his time, it's film photography, right? So you have to press a shutter, wind it, and then wait for the next person, because by the time you wind it, they are in a completely different place, and that's not the shot that you want. So it's really impressive to know that a lot of his shots where he had this decisive moment actually really worked out, because it's just like literally in the snap of a second. Now, still for today, we still have this decisive moment, right? We still wait around, we still find a composition. Now we just have to wait for the right subject to come by. And this is something that I definitely encourage a lot of people. It's like, if you find something right, wait there, see like how many pictures you can get and pick the best one that you like. Don't just go with the first subject. And I believe this is what he did. Now, the last one is not, I'm going to say, the biggest of points when it comes down to Henri Cartier-Bresson's like photography, but it is something that he did that I definitely want to apply to today, and it's kind of hard, but it's shadows and contrast. Now, we all might think of contrast as the difference between darks and lights, and shadows, of course, are the darks, but actually in his case, Contrast really refers to how to separate the subject from the background. So you have like your subject, you have your background, and these are two kind of different planes, and it kind of creates that kind of 3D effect. But he did this in camera, you know, aside from using a high aperture, but it's also about the angle, the composition you use, and all that stuff that kind of all added together to help separate your subject from your background. In terms of shadows, I'm not talking about darkness. When I'm referring to Henri Cartier-Bresson, I'm actually referring to actual shadows. You know, it's kind of using shadows to create a secondary picture within the first picture that you take a picture of. I said the word picture so many times in that one sentence. And it's kind of cool. That's like, I wouldn't call that so much a technique. It's just so much as something that you could find happening all the time and that you could just take a picture of, and you know, sometimes it'll look cool. So it's just like a cool thing that I definitely want to try out. So that's why I wanted to put it in this video. Now, as I said earlier, there is so much that we can learn from Henri Cartier-Bresson. Like the list can go on and on. But for now, I just wanted to keep it short, keep it sweet, you know, and right to the point of how we could actually do these things today. But I definitely encourage everybody out there, check him out, check out all of his photography and see what other techniques he did that we could apply today. If you guys enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button down below. Don't forget to leave a comment about who the next photographer I should look into be. And if you guys are enjoying these videos, definitely hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next one.